Stirring the coffee with 2 bananas using the vortex method, the only true way to optimize the taste of your coffee at the molecular level. Good morning. Welcome to the Daybreak Show. I am the Sultan. We'll get started, but first, coffee. Nice. Made in a French press with a little bit of cream and sugar. I don't like my coffee black. You know, there's a lot of coffee shaming going on. I like to grind my own coffee. Every now and then I will buy bags of coffee, green coffee beans, and roast it myself. You've seen those videos. And I will use heavy cream more than I will use anything else. Many times I have half and half. I put a touch of honey in it sometimes. I do like it just a little tiny bit sweeter. I just don't like the coffee black. Some people take pride in their Folgers and Maxwell House and make it in a Mr. Coffee kind of drip thing. Some people like it in a percolator. Some people make it like cowboy coffee, where they just put water in a pan and then the coffee grounds and just boil the whole thing. And then wait till the grounds settle to the bottom, then they just pour the coffee in. Or what is the thing the ranchers do, the guys that are out, the cattle rancher guys. You get those cowboy cook guys. They have that big coffee thing that they put on the open fire, coffee pot, with water and grounds in it. And then apparently they put a drop of cold water, like after the coffee's made, you put a drop of cold water in it, and the grounds just go right down to the bottom. So what you have left is the coffee. Some technique like that. How do you make your coffee? I'd like to see you. Put it down below. Do you percolate it? Drip? Do you have a Keurig? Do you have a pod system? Do you have an espresso system? How do you make your coffee? How do you drink your coffee? Do you like it light or do you like it black? Let me know down below. I want to see what my followers do with their coffee. It doesn't matter how you drink your coffee. If you drink it black, or if you drink it with cream, or half and half, or frothed milk. It doesn't matter. If you enjoy coffee, then you and I have something in common. I was recently reflecting on my MANT training. Some of you who've been around a while know that my undergraduate degree is criminal justice and criminal science. You know that. And I have a degree in pastoral studies as well from a Christian college. But I did all the internships with the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services, scooping up bodies, looking for causes of death, processing evidence, all of the technical stuff, studying all the laws. This is in the 70s now. And that's what I aspired to do. I ended up leaving that field early on. But one of the things that we learned how to do was restraining people. George, how do you know about this restraining thing? Detain, restrain, maintain. Learned that, 40 years ago. And the maintenance of someone that is being arrested is so important. And that did not happen in the case that we're seeing all over the news. One of the trainings that I have is called MANT training. Look it up. MANDT. That's how I can come after you, restrain you, and maintain you without you getting hurt, without me getting hurt, or any bystanders getting hurt. And it's 100% legal. And it's a beautiful way to, I don't want to say deliver some sanity to somebody. But when people are mad or drunk, they're not themselves. And I know how to bring people into restraint and make them literally helpless without cutting off their airflow or blood flow. Super important. Just look it up. MANT training. It's pretty cool. And I wouldn't mind becoming an instructor in it, now that I think about it. That's the first time I said that publicly. When you do MANT training, it teaches you how to restrain a person and then maintain them. I'll never forget my first job out of graduate school. I worked in a small clinic. I was the director of drug and alcohol counseling. I had worked for years before in drug and alcohol rehabs back in the day. And I worked my way through college. Believe it or not, this is so funny. When I look back on it, I remember looking at a couple different positions and the job that I took as an evening counselor when I was in college. As an evening counselor, there was a job working with mentally retarded people, which I did for about 2 years, in group homes. And then when I moved over to the drug and alcohol counseling industry, I remember, am I going to work for $5.90 an hour or $6.43 an hour? So I took the job at the rehab for $6.43 an hour. And that was a big deal. And I worked 3 to 11. Most of your programming was done during the day, but what I did was I was the guy that relieved the counselors and therapists during the day. I was young at that time. I didn't have any degrees or certifications. And I would be in the office and be available for anyone who wants to talk. And I always had people come to the office and knock on the door. $6.43 an hour at a drug and alcohol clinic. Interesting, right? But my first job out of graduate school, for those of you that don't know what graduate school is, it's the education you get after a bachelor's degree. It's a master's degree. I have my master's in education with a concentration in counseling. First job, director of drug and alcohol counseling at a psychiatric clinic. So there were people who were mentally unstable, looking for help, who were going through therapy, and then those who had what they call comorbidity, which meant that they had mental issues as well as drug and alcohol issues. Those were the people that I had on my caseload. I was a young man, 26 years old. My direct supervisor was a nurse, an amazing woman. She was 56 years old. I was 26. She was, I don't even know if she's alive today. I should look her up. Beautiful woman, 56 years old, beautiful. I remember talking to her once. I go, how do you maintain such youth? Nice figure, pretty face. She said to me, she goes, I walk 2 miles a day. It's a fast walk. So you don't jog? She goes, nope, I've never jogged. She goes, it's just a brisk walk. 2 miles a day, 7 days a week. She was 56 years old, and she was magnificent looking. And that made an impact on me. Never forget that. But the main story is this. This is what she taught me. There was a dude at the clinic who would come in 3 days a week. I can't give his name, and I really liked him. Cool dude. Huge dude. Like, bigger than me. I will never forget, he was not feeling well, feeling paranoid, not doing good, not in a good mental state, and ended up in the corner of it was like a large waiting room, and he was throwing chairs and threatening people. And here I am, 26 years old, thinking, gosh, I'm going to have to go and restrain this guy or something like that. And I don't want to do that. I know how to do it, but I don't want to. And this was in the days before MANT training. This is when you just plowed people over and put them on the ground as fast as you can. Kind of like shock and awe kind of thing. The lady who ran the clinic, the psychiatric nurse that I was telling you about, came in, and the room was filled with people, and there were people around this guy in the corner barricading himself and swinging at people. She comes in. Let's just call his name John. His name wasn't John, but to protect him, we'll call him John. She comes into the room, which was a very large room. I'd say it was maybe 25 by 50. Good size room. She comes into the room, literally, and says, John? John? And she reaches out her hand. She says, John, take my hand. People are just, it's loud in there. There's a lot of stuff going on. And he's lashing out at people. She's like, John, take my hand. And he hesitantly reaches out while still fighting other people and fighting things in his head. There was a lot of external stimuli and a lot of internal stimuli that he was responding to. She says, John, take my hand. This guy could crush her with his 2 fingers. That's how big he was. He reaches out and takes this 56-year-old woman's hand. And she says, we're going to go into my office. Come with me. He reaches out, and they hold each other's hands. And she says, okay now. Come with me. And she turns around and walks into her office, almost pulling this big, giant tractor trailer of a man into her office. 30 minutes later, he comes out. I said, John, how you doing? He goes, much better. Wow. All the restraints in the world couldn't help him. All the power in the world. He was surrounded by me and a couple other guys who were ready to do some serious tackling. Now, bear in mind, this is literally 35 years ago. True story. A little 56-year-old woman says, John, take my hand. Not yelling, not raising her voice. She was sanity, clarity, and reason to John. It's amazing. Restrain and maintain. And if need be, use arms. She was so peaceful, so nonviolent. It was amazing. Now I have to go and see if she's still around. See if she's still alive, she's in her 90s. If she's still alive, she's 96 years old. God, I have to look her up. Amazing. It's amazing what you can do. There's a time and place for everything. There's never a time for a knee on the neck. Never. I don't give a shit what anyone says. I don't care who you are. You heard me say this last week. It's better to restrain arms than it is to restrain heads and necks. You keep the person from hurting others, keep the person from hurting you, and you keep the person from hurting themselves. There is a right way to do it. And what we witnessed on television was the wrong way. That being said, there are some people who are saying this is a psyop, that was like a Hollywood production, that it was literally actors doing that. I am a conspiracy theorist, or as Deborah says, a fringe dweller. But my mind never went that far, but there are people who are saying that. and entertaining those theories. And with that, finish your coffee. And I'll see you tomorrow on the Daybreak Show, your home of sanity, clarity, and reason.